This is Digital Anarchist.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to TechStrong TV. I'm Charlene O'Hanlon, and I'm here now with Arthur Lozinski, who is the co-founder and CEO of Oomnitza. Arthur, thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes and speaking with me today. I do appreciate it.
Thank you for having us, Charlene.
Tell us about Oomnitza. I've never heard of the company before, and I'm interested in how you guys came up with that name, but I'd love to hear all about the company.
Sure. Yeah. Best kept secret in IT. But we're changing that. So hopefully some people will learn about us today via your show, Charlene. Thanks again for having us on.
You bet.
So Oomnitza, the word itself stems from the word intelligence, which is and Oomni is somebody who has intelligence. But Oomnitza is something you say to a kid if they get a really good grade. And the idea is that we are the next up and coming generation of great enterprise software. So that's how the name came about. What is Oomnitza and what do we do? Well, we have identified, and originally starting with connected devices in manufacturing, which is really interesting, that there is a trend happening that I think all of us are witnessing. And that trend is the proliferation of technology into IT. What used to be mostly services oriented, and IT was servicing all the other business units, that's changed now. IT has become a line of business. IT is now in charge of the security, the compliance, the auditability, the financial portions, and of course, the experience, both for the customer and the internal employee. And so it is no longer just servicing other business units. It itself needs to be servicing. And that is, a change.
Yeah. Well, you're absolutely right. The proliferation of IT into all corners of a company, it's been a long time coming. I mean, we've seen it kind of creeping in over the past, 15, 20 years at least. Now, there is not a company on the face of this earth that can do business without IT. It's just such an integral part of any business these days. And we've all heard that so many organizations now consider themselves to be software companies first, and then, a shoe manufacturer second, or an airline second. Everything is software led these days and IT led. So good stuff. And it's a great time to be alive in IT, I guess. So let's talk a little bit about the survey that you guys recently put out, the Managing Enterprise Technology Blind Spots Snapshot Survey. So tell me about that. How did you guys come up with the idea, and what is the purpose of the survey, the Snapshot Survey?
Sure. Yeah. Well, even though you haven't heard about us, we service many of the top technology companies in the world. And as you mentioned, many companies you wouldn't think of as technology companies have become technology companies. So as you alluded to, there's a lot of companies that you may not immediately think of as those types of organizations, but they are, and they're household names, and they're technologies that we use every day. Even the retail environments that we live in today are highly technology based. They're not so worried about warehousing as they once were. You may be walking to a retail shop to check out something, not to buy something, maybe just to learn about it, to feel it, to touch it, if it's a brick and mortar type of technology. And then you may go home and buy it online. And so the way that companies are thinking about their retail environments has dramatically shifted, as one example. But there's a lot of those examples, as you alluded to. So when we did this study, we were working with a lot of our existing customers, of which we have, more than a few hundred, that are in the world of managing these technologies. And what we found that was probably most interesting is that there is not only this influx of technology, but there's a major problem with the way that companies today, with the options that companies have today in managing those. There's only so many different siloed tools out there that are providing what is needed. And this silo approach is drawing a lot of problems in the organization.
So tell me a little bit about some of those silos. Are you seeing them within particular areas of IT, or maybe within the organization itself?
Yeah, well, the way that we define these silos, and we've done a lot of, using this research and other research, we've done a lot of thinking about how we can best articulate this problem, but also articulate the solution. We've coined this term enterprise technology management, and it consists of enterprise technology. This technology is often in various silos. So when you think about the types of technologies, that gives you a little bit of a understanding of what those silos are. So enterprise technology consists of endpoints. As in one example, those can be point of sale systems in the retail environments. That can be internal IT, phones, laptops, things like that. There's networking, which is your routers, your switches, physical firewalls. There's infrastructure, which can be on-premise or in the cloud, AWS, Azure. Then there's applications, which are installed, SaaS applications. And of course, there's also all these peripherals that you need in order to be able to engage in everyday business. Well, that enterprise technology goes through a management process. And every single enterprise technology goes through a different process. What I mean by that is that you don't purchase your endpoints the same way that you do your cloud infrastructure. That's a different purchasing process. And of course, there's a different deployment process for every technology. There's a different managing process for every technology. There's a different monitoring process, securing process, maintenance process. But the process exists for every single one of those technologies. And if you put that on a matrix, what you find is that you have a lot of tools in the enterprise. And as you rightfully should, you're going to have to choose the right tool for the job. So if you have a endpoint that needs to be secured, if it's a Linux endpoint, you're going to use a specific tool. If it's a Windows endpoint, you're going to use a specific tool. Even if it's a Windows endpoint that is in the retail environment, or a Windows endpoint that is in a shop floor, or a Windows endpoint that is in the internal IT team, that is going to have different tools to manage that job. So it's no surprise that when you look at enterprise technology and the management of that you have an abundance of systems in the enterprise, rightfully so.
Yeah, and you think about also the proliferation of cloud services and the fact that it really is easy enough for anybody to spin up a cloud service. So all you need is a credit card, they say, and you've got another instance spun up. So I would imagine that is also kind of creating some issues within organizations, because sometimes they don't even realize what they've got and what they're running because there's been so much shadow IT happening over the last couple of years. And does that factor into your survey?
Yeah, it's very interesting. The example you just gave of cloud infrastructure is one of hundreds of thousands, but it's one that's very popular right now, and it's in the news all the time. And what it is because you have so many silos, if somebody has access and is a bad actor, leaves the company and still has access to AWS or Azure, any of the cloud infrastructure, they can do a whole lot of damage. And you're seeing this all over the news right now. Yeah. Why does that happen? Well, it's because the information lives in silos. You have a way to get the technology back from the individual, whether it's their endpoints or their SaaS applications or their infrastructure, but it's all in various different systems. And the processes are mostly manual. They're in some ticket built for an ITSM tool, and they're not automated across all these various functions. And many organizations end up having to say, well, that's just the way it is. But that's not really an answer that we can live with in the 21st century. We really need to find a better way to do it. And so I think that a lot of companies are turning to enterprise technology management in order to solve this problem end to end, one single solution, instead of trying to find multiple different places to do that and risking many of their organization's most important information.
Yeah, and it seems like it would be just a much better way to not only know, but also understand where your technologies are from an ownership perspective, and also cybersecurity, compliance, all those things that kind of are connected to you just understanding again what your infrastructure is like, what your endpoints are like, what if you were to map everything out, how it all fits together, because especially from a compliance perspective, if you don't know about a particular technology or where data resides or something like that, then, you actually absolutely could kind of run afoul of regulatory compliance. And, I would imagine that alone, that and the cybersecurity perspective, I think would be the two major reasons why organizations would want to use this type of technology.
Charlene, you hit the nail on the head. People talk about visibility. They say, we need visibility. We need visibility.
Right.
When you go one level deeper, they need visibility for one of 5 reasons. And you mentioned 2 of them as important. And we say them in this order because they are incredibly important. You need to understand it for security reasons, of course. If you say we just want visibility, the question is always, well, why? Because that's not enough. You don't go through a implementation of enterprise technology management simply just to have visibility. There has to be real business outcome. Security is one of them. And we just mentioned a use case that is an example. Compliance, of course, is another one. All of these endpoints, any of these technologies can contain PII data. They can contain very important data that has to be compliant. Auditability is another very important aspect of this. It's incredible how much time is wasted during audits, and that can be consolidated into one enterprise technology management system. So that's another important reason we need visibility. The third and fourth important point is the financial aspect of this technology that plays a major role in the availability of the technology. But the fifth, and maybe the most surprising one to me during the survey, is really the experience portion. And experience is such an important part of IT teams' service today, and it's overlooked, really. And the way it's overlooked is that the customer experience technology empowers. We talked a little bit about retail, but many companies today are a technology-focused company, and their customers are reliant on that technology, whether it's their internal team providing that customer service or their customers are interfacing with the technology the company provides. And of course, also the experience that IT provides for the end users that are joining the company, with all the things that happened during the pandemic and now with the markets in the situation that they're in. The experience that we provide to our employees is a major differentiator. And so enterprise technology management is a key provider of those 5 items, but experience was the one that I think is highly surprising and very important.
Yeah, I would not have thought about that, but it certainly makes a lot of sense, especially if you're talking about, whether it's your external customers and understanding, where they kind of sit on your spectrum, if you will. Do you have all of the information about a particular customer? It's going to be much easier to service that customer, but also from an internal perspective, your employees are your customers as well, and so they need to have a top-notch experience when they're working with your technology as well. Whether it's the internal systems that run, I don't know, payroll to just being able to access your Slack account on a regular basis and things like that. So makes a whole lot of sense. So it seems like this is something though that really organizations should have had a long time ago, given the number of systems that any organization has on a regular basis. So is this something that's kind of just now kind of getting its legs underneath it? Because I kind of feel like there was something technology very similar to this that's kind of has always been around, that maybe, you guys are kind of like doing we're experiencing a renaissance, or you guys have got some sort of really cool technology attached to yours that makes it really sets it apart from its competitors.
Yeah, well, one of the reasons you haven't heard about us much is because it is a relatively new problem. And I think you'll continue to hear more and more about companies using ETM. And as this company has continued to mature, more of the top organizations in the world have relied on enterprise technology management, but it's because it's a relatively new concept. And I'll illustrate the point this way: is in 2012 was the first time that we had more technology on Earth than we had people. Between 2012 and now, that number has grown almost 100x.
Yikes.
That is unbelievable how much technology we have on Earth today. And it is only the beginning. The amount of technology that's coming to the enterprise is staggering. The challenge has always been that the way that we've been servicing our workflows in the IT realm
Mhm.
been through IT service management. And IT service management plays an important role. But at the end of the day, it's tickets. And tickets are syntax for human execution. So if you want humans to do something, you give them a ticket. But if you want a machine to do something, you need a new fundamental way of having the machine communicate. And that's what enterprise technology management is. It's putting the center of the universe around the technology and not around the human, because we believe there's just not enough humans in the world to manage all the technology that's come online.
True words were never spoken.